Hi, kindergartners. It is Miss House. I'm back with another Read Aloud today to talk to you guys about character traits, okay? So the character that we're going to be talking about today is Sheila Ray. So this book is called Sheila Ray the Brave, and it's by Kevin Henkes. And a lot of his stories that we've read this year have a character that's a mouse. So we've read Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and Lily was a mouse in that book as well. So there's two things I kind of want to talk to you guys about before we get started today. So when we talk about character traits, a lot of the times they're things that we can use to describe who the character is as a person. So we're kind of talking about things on the inside or describing like who they are. So for example, we talked yesterday about the good little, bad little pig. So we said that he was good, he was bad, he was clean, he was muddy. So we're describing who he is, but we're also describing kind of what he looks like on the outside, okay? So there's going to be two different activities that you can kind of pick from today that you want to do. They're both set up in similar ways, but we're going to be talking about Sheila Ray and some of her character traits at the beginning of the story. Then we're going to kind of talk about some character traits that we could use to describe what Sheila Ray looks like on the outside. Okay, so those are two things I want you to pay attention to as I finish reading this book. Okay, so without further ado, we will get started. Sheila Ray the Brave. Sheila Ray wasn't afraid of anything. I see she's kissing a spider in that picture. She wasn't afraid of the dark, she wasn't afraid of thunder and lightning, and she wasn't afraid of the big black dog at the end of the block. At dinner, Sheila Ray made believe that the cherries in her fruit cocktail were the eyes of dead bears, and she ate 5 of them. At school, Sheila Ray giggled when the principal walked by, and when her classmate Wendell stole her jump rope during recess, Sheila Ray tied him up until the bell rang. "I am very brave," Sheila Ray said, patting herself on the back. Sheila Ray stepped on every crack in the sidewalk without fear. When her sister Louise said that there was a monster in the closet, Sheila Ray attacked it. And she rode her bicycle no-handed with her eyes closed. "Yeah, yeah, Sheila Ray," her friends yelled, clapping their hands. One day, Sheila Ray decided to walk home from school a new way. Louise was afraid to. "You're too brave for me," Louise said. "You're always such a scaredy cat," Sheila Ray called. "Am not," whispered Louise. So far in the story, we could describe Sheila Ray as being brave and fearless. So those are two words, two character traits that the words of the story and the author actually wrote down to kind of send us the message that these were some of Sheila Ray's character traits. Sheila Ray started off skipping. "I am brave," she sang. "I am fearless." She stepped on every crack. She walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs and bared her teeth at stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures. She climbed up them and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Ray walked and walked. She turned corners. She crossed streets. It suddenly occurred to Sheila Ray that nothing looked familiar. So she is now somewhere that she doesn't really know where she is. If you were somewhere and you didn't know where you were, how would you be feeling? How do you think Sheila Ray might be feeling right now? Do you think that we could use different words to describe her now? Different character traits? I would say maybe she's feeling nervous or worried. She's frightened. Sheila Ray heard frightening noises. They sounded worse than thunder. She thought horrible thoughts. They were worse than anything she had ever imagined. "I am brave," Sheila Ray tried to convince herself. "I am fearless." The sounds became more frightening. The thoughts became more horrible. Sheila Ray sat down on a rock and cried. "Help," she sniffled. She thought of her mother and her father and Louise. "Mother, father, Louise," she cried. "Here I am," a voice said. "Who's there?" "It's Louise. Did you guys see her back in the pictures?" She was following Sheila Rae the whole time. In all of the pictures, you can see either her tail or her ears or her bow kind of popping up the whole time. "Louise," Sheila Rae hugged her sister. "We're lost," Sheila Rae said. "No, we're not," said Louise. "I know the way home. Follow me." Louise stepped on every crack. She walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs and bared her teeth at stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures. She jumped up and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Rae walked quietly behind her. They walked and walked. They crossed streets. They turned corners. Soon their house could be seen between the trees. Sheila Rae grabbed Louise and dashed up the street. When they reached their own yard and the gate was closed behind them, Sheila Rae said, "Louise, you are brave. You are fearless." "We both are," said Louise, and they walked backwards into the house with their eyes closed. That was such a fun story. So, at the beginning of the book, we talked about how Sheila Rae could be described, some character traits that we could use to talk about who she is, are the words brave, right? So in this picture, she's kissing the spider. I'd say she's brave for doing that. She's not afraid of the dark. She's not afraid of thunder and lightning. She's not afraid of dogs. So I would say that she's brave and she's fearless. So when you're fearless, it means that you have no fear, okay? So remember, that's a little bit different than brave, because the word brave means it might be something that scares you or frightens you, but you do it anyway, right? So when you're fearless, it's just that nothing scares you, right? So I would say she's a little bit of both, maybe, because at one point she might have been scared of doing some of those things, but in order to get brave and to be braver than you were, when you were 2 years old or 3 years old, you kind of have to see those things that might scare you a little and just kind of do it anyway. So maybe it's riding your bike, and maybe you don't have to do what Sheila Rae does and ride it with no hands, but maybe it's learning how to ride a bike. I know I've had a lot of friends in my homeroom learn to ride their bike during this time at home. So I know that they probably had to be brave, because I know when I learned how to ride my bike, I took quite a few tumbles and spills. Had some skinned knees and maybe skinned hands when I was learning to do that. So bravery means that you do it anyway, okay? So I think that those are two great words that we could use to describe Sheila Rae and how she was feeling at the beginning of the story. There might be other words that you think of, like she's confident, or she is very active, she's excited, she wants to just do things all the time, okay? She loves to do things like that. Another thing that we talked about is that we could describe Sheila Rae by looking at her physical traits. So character traits we can talk about as things that we see on the outside or feelings on the inside of characters. So for Sheila Rae, if we're looking at physical traits, so that's the outside, just at looking at her, we could look and say she has a thin tail, she's young, she has a purple skirt, she has a yellow top. We could use words like that to describe how she looks, okay? So the two different activities I'm going to send to your teachers, you can pick from, and you can just do one, okay? Just one of those. So maybe you talk about Sheila Rae at the beginning of this story and her character traits then, or you can talk about what you know about how she looks, okay? So that is it for, I'm trying to think, I'm recording this the day before, so this is your Thursday book. We will have one more read aloud I will do tomorrow to talk about character traits. And then next week, I think we're going to be starting some new learning, and we'll be learning about the beach. And Miss House, I think I have some beach books that I'm going to do, or maybe I'll even take some books to the beach and read them to you there. That might be fun too. Okay, so I hope you guys have a fun time with this activity and have an adult help you if there's any words that you don't know or need to described to you, different character traits that you're not sure if Sheila Ray had. I'm sure they would be willing to help. Okay, so I hope you have a great day and have fun. Bye, guys.